Imagine a world where science, logic, art, ethics, and politics are all guided by the thoughts of a single man. A man whose ideas laid the foundation for Western civilization, shaped the way we think about reality, and continue to influence how we define truth even after 2,000 years. That man was Aristotle, the philosopher who taught Alexander the Great, the student of Plato, and the teacher of the world. His life and philosophy form one of the brightest chapters in human history, a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern knowledge. Aristotle was born in 384 BCE in Stagira, a small town in northern Greece. His father Nicomachus was the personal physician to King Amyntas of Macedon, the grandfather of Alexander the Great. This early exposure to medicine in the royal court deeply influenced Aristotle's curiosity about nature, biology, and the workings of living beings. Unlike most Greek philosophers who focused on abstract ideas, Aristotle's fascination with the living world gave his philosophy a unique, scientific character. When Aristotle was 17, he traveled to Athens to join Plato's academy, the most prestigious school in the ancient world. For nearly 20 years, he studied under Plato, absorbing the master's teachings while quietly developing his own independent ideas. While Plato believed that reality existed in a world of ideal forms, Aristotle disagreed. He argued that reality was not something separate or distant. It existed right here in the physical world, in the things we can observe and analyze. After Plato's death, Aristotle left Athens and traveled across Greece and Asia Minor, studying biology, politics, and human nature. During these travels, he began collecting data, observing animals, plants, and human behavior, a rare practice in a world where most thinkers relied only on reasoning. Aristotle's approach marked the birth of empirical philosophy, a method based on observation and evidence. Around 343 BCE, he was invited by King Philip II of Macedon to tutor his young son, Alexander. This appointment was a turning point in his life. The future conqueror of the world learned from Aristotle not only about politics and strategy, but also ethics, philosophy, and the Greek ideals of reason and virtue. Aristotle encouraged Alexander to see himself not just as a ruler, but as a student of wisdom and justice. While Alexander went on to build one of the largest empires in history, Aristotle returned to Athens to build an empire of ideas. In 335 BCE, he founded his own school in Athens, the Lyceum. Unlike Plato's academy, which focused on metaphysical ideas, the Lyceum was more like a modern research university. Aristotle and his students would walk around the school's garden as they discussed philosophy, earning them the nickname Peripatetics, meaning those who walk about. At the Lyceum, Aristotle wrote and taught on almost every field of knowledge: logic, physics, biology, psychology, ethics, politics, poetry, and rhetoric. His notes and lectures became the foundation of his written works, many of which survived through history. He classified animals, studied the motion of stars, analyzed government systems, and explored the human soul. His curiosity had no boundaries. Everything from the smallest insect to the grandest empire was a subject of study. What made Aristotle's approach revolutionary was his belief that knowledge begins with observation. Instead of relying on divine explanation or myth, he insisted on studying the natural world directly. He would dissect animals, observe their anatomy, and note differences in species, making him one of the first true scientists in history. His work in biology remained authoritative for nearly 2,000 years. One of Aristotle's most lasting contributions was his development of logic, the art of reasoning. He introduced the concept of syllogism, a method of forming conclusions based on premises, such as, all humans are mortal, Socrates is human, therefore Socrates is mortal. This structure of logical reasoning became the foundation of Western thought and the scientific method. Even today, every field of knowledge, from mathematics to computer science, rests on principles that can be traced back to Aristotle's logic. He believed that every piece of knowledge must have a rational explanation and rejected the idea of knowledge based on blind faith or intuition. For him, reason was the tool that separated humans from other creatures, and logic was the bridge between the mind and reality, a way to move from what we observe to what we understand. Aristotle's metaphysics, his study of existence and reality, was an attempt to answer the ultimate question: what does it mean to be? while Plato believed in eternal, perfect forms that exist beyond the material world. Aristotle argued that reality exists within the physical world. For him, everything is a combination of matter, what it is made of, and form, its essential nature. A statue, for example, is made of marble, matter, but shaped into a human form. He also introduced the concept of substance, which he considered the true essence of being. Everything, he said, has potential, what it can become, and actuality, what it currently is. This idea that reality is dynamic, always moving from potential to actual, influenced centuries of scientific and philosophical thought. At the heart of Aristotle's metaphysics was the idea of the unmoved mover, a perfect, eternal being that causes motion and change in the universe without itself changing. This concept later inspired Christian and Islamic theologians to connect Aristotle's thought with the idea of God. For Aristotle, philosophy was not just about abstract thought, it was about living well. His most famous ethical work, the Nicomachean Ethics, written for his son Nicomachus, explores what it means to live a good and meaningful life. According to Aristotle, the ultimate goal of human life is eudaimonia, often translated as happiness or flourishing. However, Aristotle's happiness is not about pleasure or wealth. It is about virtue, the excellence of character. He believed that every virtue lies between two extremes, a concept known as the doctrine of the mean. For instance, courage is the mean between cowardice and recklessness. Generosity is the mean between stinginess and wastefulness. By practicing moderation and reason, a person could cultivate a balanced and moral life. Aristotle's ethics emphasize habit and choice. He believed that moral excellence is not something we are born with, but something we develop through practice. We are what we repeatedly do, he wrote. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. His ideas continue to guide modern discussions on character, morality, and leadership. In his work Politics, Aristotle described humans as zoon politikon, political animals. He believed that humans naturally seek community, and the highest form of community is the polis, or city-state. For him, the purpose of the state was to help its citizens achieve virtue and happiness. Aristotle studied hundreds of Greek city-states and classified different forms of government, monarchy, aristocracy, and polity, each with its corrupted form, tyranny, oligarchy, and democracy. He favored a mixed government that balanced the power of the rich and the poor, believing that the stability of a society depended on the strength of its middle class. His political theories influenced later thinkers like Thomas Aquinas, Machiavelli, and the framers of modern constitutions. Aristotle's influence extended far beyond philosophy. He wrote extensively on science, laying the groundwork for fields like physics, astronomy, and zoology. Although some of his scientific ideas were later proven wrong, his method of observation and classification became the model for modern research. In Poetics, Aristotle explored art and literature, defining tragedy as the imitation of action that evokes pity and fear, leading to catharsis or emotional purification. His analysis of drama remains foundational for literary criticism even today. In rhetoric, he analyzed the art of persuasion, introducing the three pillars of effective communication: ethos, credibility; pathos, emotion; and logos, logic. These concepts are still taught in modern schools of writing, debate, and public speaking. Aristotle's life came to an end in 322 BCE, shortly after the death of Alexander the Great. Facing political hostility in Athens due to his Macedonian connections, he reportedly said, "I will not allow the Athenians to sin twice against philosophy," a reference to the execution of Socrates. He retreated to Chalcis, where he died at the age of 62. But his ideas never died. For nearly 2 millennia, Aristotle's writings were the cornerstone of education in Europe and the Islamic world. Medieval scholars like Averroes, Avicenna, and Thomas Aquinas blended his philosophy with religious theology. During the Renaissance, his works were rediscovered, sparking new waves of scientific and intellectual progress. Even in modern times, Aristotle's thoughts on logic, ethics, and science continue to inspire philosophers, scientists, and leaders alike. Aristotle once wrote, "The more you know, the more you realize you don't know." This humble recognition of human limitation captures the essence of his philosophy, the endless pursuit of wisdom through observation, reason, and reflection. He believed that every human being has the potential to reach greatness through knowledge and virtue. His life stands as a testament to the power of curiosity and disciplined thought. More than 2,000 years after his death, the echoes of Aristotle's wisdom still shape our universities, our politics, our science, and even our everyday reasoning. He taught us not just how to think, but how to live, rationally, ethically, and purposefully. In the end, the life and philosophy of Aristotle remind us that true greatness lies not in wealth or conquest, but in understanding, in the lifelong quest to know the world and oneself. His legacy is not just that of a philosopher, but of a timeless teacher who continues to whisper through the ages. Seek knowledge, seek virtue, and you will find wisdom.